Hi guys, Renee here with Gammy's Happy Bees. Wanted to show you some of the progress on the truck and something else that I'm going to kind of add to it, little touch that I like. I have sprayed some of it and I've gone back in and I've tried to do some blending. I had a couple of questions yesterday. People reached out to me with some questions in my messenger about the windows. So let me explain that really quick. These windows on this particular truck, this gray truck, they are base coated black. And then I just took some white and probably a little bit of the color flash, I can't remember, and just kind of very lightly, like it's almost like when I'm doing when I tell you like do a whisper touch, like with the dry brushes, I've just kind of done that there because I will add some Tamira gloss on it, and I will add a couple of things to make it look like it's a reflective surface. But so that's what I've done there. The tires and the grill and the bumper, I dry brushed, or I base coated black, and then I dry brushed with the metallic and the color shift silver flash. So the silver flash is also, or the metallic actually, is what's on the rims here. So there's that. And then I did a color flash white on the headlights, and then the color flash, I don't know where it's at. I moved it somewhere, but it's, oh, here it is. It's the raspberry flash for the taillights. So anyway, I wanted to show you guys what I'm adding here on the truck. I went back and looked at the Camping with My Nomies truck that I did a couple of years ago in a class, and kind of the technique that we used on that one was to give it kind of a rust look all the way around. And there's no one way that you can do this. I want to say for that, the yellow one, we'd used burnt sienna. But so for this gray truck, what I'm going to do to add some like rust accents on it is use the red iron oxide extra dark. And I'm going to, I don't know if you can see kind of what I've done here. I'm going to kind of add it into some of the crevices to give it kind of a rust look in some spots. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that and where I'm going to add that. And I'm not doing it all over every part of the truck. I'm just going to do it on some of the parts where, to me, I would expect to see rust, which if you know cars, you can kind of expect to see rust pretty much anywhere. So it just depends. So I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that before I go up and spray it again. And I'm gonna try and not have my fingers all in the powder everywhere. I'm gonna try and hold it from the bottom here. So I've kind of gone in with this red iron oxide with my Black Swirl Round watercolor brush, the soft bristles, but it's the ones with the tip. And I'm actually, for this, I'm gonna be using the number 3. And I'm kind of going in where, you know, these crevices are, just adding a little bit of a rust look. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to go ahead and add like a little bit kind of in this corner of the wheel well, because I would think that I would see rust there. I'm going to add a little bit kind of back here, just a little bit of a rust. Like, I don't want it to be this one. I mean, you can have your truck as rusty or not rusty as you want. And you can, you know, put it in whatever spot you want. This is just what I'm going to do for this truck. So I'm just going to make that corner a little rusty. I'm going to go ahead and make this corner. And right now I'm just laying the color down. I'll blend that out here in a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit here. Do a little rust there. Going to do a little rust there. And then I'm going to put some up in this. kind of enter this corner, this intersection here. Okay, put some right here. Okay, so I'm going to do that there. I'm going to do a little bit here. Again, I'm just kind of laying it down. And this is kind of where you can have fun with like your project. You can add it where you want. You can do what you want, what you really, really want. I'm going to put a little bit up in here. I'm probably going to put a little bit down in this corner too. And down in this one. So it can be different levels of rust, different intensities of rust color. And then I'm going to work on blending it out. And there'll be spots where I'm going to be like, oh, I'll add it here and I'll add it here. But for right now, I'm going to work on blending, trying to blend it in. So I'm just going to take, remember, it's like a little whisper touch. And I'm going to blend that. I have active powder on the other side, so I'm kind of like freaking out. I probably should have sprayed it, but I wasn't sure if I was quite done blending it or not. So do that there. And if you're questioning like, where do I want to put my rust? Where do I want to put, where would I want that to be? Just go look up a car, just an image of a car somewhere, like a rusty car, and like just take a look at that image if you want, and like try and decide where you want to lay that rust down. So I'm gonna, hopefully you guys can see that. I know it's kind of hard, it feels far away, but so I'm gonna blend. Do want it a little darker in the corner. It doesn't have to be super blended there. Because if you think about rust, sometimes you have super dark spots. Sometimes you have lighter spots just starting to rust. Sometimes they're very distinct and like making, the metal fall off your car, like chunks of rust. Okay. I haven't done the back yet, so sorry. I'm just trying to do an angle where I can get in here. Do that. I'm actually just going to kind of make that connect. And I'll take a photo of this when it's done if it's hard for you guys to see. So I'm actually gonna kind of blend that rust over. I don't want to make it super, super dark all the way across. I just want it to have like a little bit of that rust look there, but I want it to be much more rusty down here at the bottom. I'm gonna blend that out a little bit. Remember, it's just like a little whisper touch. It's hard to adjust. It's hard to get used to that. I'm gonna make that look super rusty there. Let me blend. See how I have that very distinct spot there? I'm gonna go ahead and blend it over, a little up, and a little bit more blended out in this intersection. So it's gonna be this very super rusty in the corner, a little bit more on the sides, and then a little tiny bit of rust there. Kind of same thing here. I'm going to kind of pull it out. All right, so super rusty, ish rusty, medium-ish super rusty, I guess. Rust, quasi super rusty. Pull some of that around the front. Pull that around the front. Just a little bit. Pull it in there a little bit. And don't worry about if you get any in some of this white. I usually go back over it a little bit with a little bit of white dry brushing to cover any powder that might have gotten, you know, where I want my highlights at. I also use a white colored pencil. So super whisper touch. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend this out a little more. I do want it to be more distinctive, but okay, so there's the rust. I'm going to blend this out a little more, pull that kind of up. Okay, and I am going to pull this a little bit more. And I think I want a little bit here. I think that's about as much rust as I want. Oh, I have to do a little here. Okay. So I think that's about as rusty as I want that to. I'll get up in the window parts later. I'm not really done shading the gray and stuff there. Oh wait, I probably need to do a little bit up here because there's no way that this escaped any rust. It's gonna have some. It's gonna have a little tiny bit at least. So I'll just kind of blend that. Blend that out a little bit. Okay. I'll work on blending all that out a little bit more, but so that's the idea behind adding some rust look to your truck. Hopefully that helps there. So I'm going to show you really quick what I'm going to do to the windows, which means I've got to find the black. Also keep in mind, anytime you're doing anything, like I might take some of this. This is the colorless blender. I might take some of that and try and help, you know, get that rust out. I like to try and use one brush for black because it's the hardest color to get out. And that's a little bigger than I wanted. Not that you can't get it out. It's just little bit harder, takes a little bit more time. So on these windows, just because like you can see like where dry brushing happened, like up along the the metal frame part of the window, you want that to look as dark as possible. So, or not, you don't have to make it look as dark as possible. But so this is where I'll take the brush and look, I'm really gonna take that black and kind of get it up there where some of that white got on the window. And right around here, like right up against where that window is supposed to really end, where the glass is supposed to end, where the window and the car door frame meet. So just gonna lay it down. I'm gonna try and grab it this way so I'm not putting all my hands in all the powder. I'm already laying my hands down in some spots. Let's see if I can flip this way. So as you can see, I'm getting into those little frame crevices and like getting that nice and dark. So it really will help make that window pop. And then I'll just work on blending that in, pulling some of that kind of into here. Gives it that kind of, I don't know, to me it kind of gives it a little bit of like that window glare look. I'll just work on blending that a little bit there. And then what I end up doing, which I'm just going to show you guys, what I end up doing is either with like a little bit of a gray, I guess here, let me use this. I use a little bit of the gray. Trying not to touch where I am. And I can use some of the gray. Oh. I'm actually gonna, just because I want it to have like a little bit of a powdery look. It's kind of where I'll go in and I'll make this look just a little I'm going to say powdery. It's not the word I'm looking for, but just a little bit more softer, a softer glare. And you know, you really could just, if you wanted to paint the window black and then just do the powder, or not no powder at all, but you could just paint it all black and then, you know, work on trying to do the glare kind of piece with the powder. You don't even have to dry brush it if you don't want. But so I'm just gonna kind of work on like a very smooth blend there. You can see that. And then when I do spray it, and then I go ahead, when my final piece for that will be to put the gloss finish on it. But, oh, you know what I didn't do? See, I almost missed this spot. I haven't shaded around the windows and these part of the doors yet. But, trying to see here. Oh, so, and then the other thing too is like if you got any paint, is this the one I had the black on? If you wanted to like clean up some in here on these windows where you might have gotten some dry brush paint. I was going to be ambitious and try and do like white wall tires. And I ended up saying, not today. So I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of that. But so that's kind of the premise. So, you know, a little bit of rust look, kind of how to do the windows. You would do all the windows the same if you chose to do that way. I'm going to kind of finish blending out some of this rust and trying to get the gray, you know, shaded around the rest of this door, because I still have to do, you know, the back bed of the truck and stuff like that. So, but just, I don't want to have my fingers in all of the things. So I'm going to I'm going to work on blending this out the way that I want. And then hopefully when I come back, I'll have this all done. And then we can kind of move on to, what am I going to do with the windows? And then we can start maybe putting the flower arrangement together so you guys can see that. Thanks so much. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Don't forget to go to the website, sign up for the mailing list. I'm going to be putting together quite a few like little mailers and documents to be sent out to everybody. So don't forget to do that. GammiesHappyBees.com. And this was fun. Hopefully you guys are liking how this project's turning out.